the same time is working hard. Someone is getting smarter and someone is winning.
Section 2M of the Arizona Residential Resale Purchase Contract has to do with the appraisal cost. It states the initial appraisal fee shall be paid by buyer, seller, or other at the time payment is required by the lender and is non-refundable. If seller is paying the initial appraisal fee, the fee will or will not be applied against seller concessions at close of escrow if applicable. If buyer's lender requires an updated appraisal prior to close of escrow, it will be performed at buyer's expense. Any appraisal lender required inspection costs shall be paid for by buyer. Couple things to note in this section. You cannot obligate a third party to pay the appraisal fee, meaning if for some reason you as the agent or the lender or someone else was going to pay for the appraisal, you cannot obligate them in the contract. Generally with the other box, you're probably going to use this only if you're going to split the cost of the appraisal. Another thing to note is that if, let's say, seller agrees to pay the appraisal, the seller must be advised that they have to pay it when it's required by the lender. Many times this is before close. Usually the lender will want this paid before they're going to even order that appraisal. Couple things to note following that. If the seller is paying for that appraisal, we have to state whether or not this is going to come from their concessions, if there are any. And one other thing I'd like to note, as you'll see here, any appraiser lender required inspections shall be paid for by the buyer. Well, what does this mean? Well, let's say the lender performs the appraisal and there are repairs that have to be made before they'll agree to fund the loan. And let's say seller agrees to perform those repairs. After the repairs are made, many times the lender will require the appraiser to go out and complete a reinspection. If the lender requires the reinspection, then the buyer is responsible for that fee, even if seller agreed to pay the initial appraisal.